Sometimes you listen to a podcast or you finish reading a book and you have all these swirling thoughts, and I really love practical things where you just bring it back down to some sort of practical challenge. So do you have any sort of practical challenge? It can be anything, just to spread more love and positivity in the world, whether that's write a note on the fridge for your spouse, or I try to do all the ones that people recommend. One of them was writing a letter to your dad, telling him what you're thankful for. So that was something for old Brucey, to write him a letter. So yeah, do you have any challenges for me and for others? This is the Lifted Spirits podcast, where we raise a glass, share encouraging thoughts and stories, and discuss how we find meaning through family, friendship, art, business, and everything in between. We have done 20 episodes now, which doesn't sound like all that much, but it's been a lot of work. And we always end with the same question of just a practical challenge people can give to make others a more compassionate and intelligent and well-rounded human being. So this is a celebration of those episodes and just a compilation of what people have answered.
I can give you a very practical thing.
Okay.
I would encourage you, the big you, to invite people into your home for a meal. It can be friends, certainly, but perhaps invite people who you don't know very well, or make a point to invite people you don't know at all. Just invite them over for a meal. There is something that happens in the act of eating. This goes back, centuries and centuries, thousands of years. The act of eating together with someone is deeply intimate. And in those moments of intimacy, you can really see and hear from one another. And so this can be especially wonderful when it's people who maybe see things differently from you. So maybe there's a prejudice you have, or something you don't even realize that you're harboring. But as you have conversations with people who are others, you find that your mind is expanded and your compassion gets a little bit greater, because you're not necessarily seeing an other. You're seeing a person who is like you, different from you. It's just the world enlarging.
It's a good challenge, and very practical. And anyone can do.
Yes.
Even if you have to make a microwave pizza or something, it's better to have someone over and kind of skimp on the food than
for sure
the other way around.
Yeah, no, it doesn't have to be fancy. Make sandwiches, take them to a park.
Yeah.
A tool that I have been using that I also, to some degree, created is something that I use every year. It's called my year in review. So we just met to discuss this, you and I, and spouses and Daniel and so on. And I think that that's been one of my biggest frameworks for understanding myself, and then also just kind of carrying an actual history of my year. And so kind of the way this ties into some of the things that we've been talking about is my year in review. I do top moments, top songs, top books, worst moments, and then a variety of questions of, what went well this year, what went poorly this year, what would you like to do better next year? In the past, there have been questions on, how was my relationship with God? And it forces you to sit down. For me, it's usually from like mid-November to like the end of January, and kind of wrestle with how my year went and what I think about that, and maybe understand, especially in the context of as you develop some of these values, is my value system and my year in review in alignment? And if it's not, do I need to change my upcoming year, or do I need to change my value system? And an example of that's like not heavy at all. One of my goals, also New Year's resolutions or year-long resolutions. One of my resolutions for like 3 years was to go camping a certain number of times. And then every year I kept reviewing it and being like, wow, I didn't go camping. And at some point I was like, I don't think I actually like camping as much as I think I like camping. Because I keep making this resolution and I keep failing to do it. And at the end of the day is like, I just am not making time to go camping. Like that's just the reality. And it was like, and I think I'm okay with that. Like, but it helped me to understand maybe who I thought of myself versus who I actually was, and kind of come a little bit more in alignment.
Yeah.
So I like that as a tangible, like practical thing, because it goes into lots of other spheres.
Mhm.
You have to read at least 10 books to have top 10 books.
Yeah.
Have to listen to things, watch some YouTube videos,
Mhm.
define some of these things that you want or are your tops, so that you can understand
Yeah.
who was I in 2017, 2018, and see how that has progressed over the years.
Yeah, I had a friend who came to a realization of like, I don't think I need to go hiking to like live my best life. Like everyone tells me that I
Yeah.
need that,
Mhm.
but it's just not for me, and I can respect that.
Yep.
And I actually did earlier in 2023, I did a a 30-year in review.
I love that.
Where part of this was because I basically made a video journal of like highlights of my life up to 30.
Okay.
And this is embarrassing to admit, but it was like 8 hours.
Dang,
And
I love that.
I spent
No.
like 2 hours a day for a week just recording stuff, because it sounds really narcissistic, and maybe it is, but I think it stems from just hardly knowing anything about my grandparents and wanting there to be history for my kids and them to know what was going on and what I did and mistakes and like lessons learned and just funny stories and
absolutely.
everything in between. And so that was a lot of fun and gave a lot of self-perspective on like, whoa. I looked through all of my yearbooks and took little notes, and which one of the best ones, there's a picture from my senior year. I don't know how this got printed, but I was in overall, it was for some sort of float thing. I was in just overalls, like no shirt, and kind of like stroking my leg. And the caption that I said that they put in, it said, it's free to look, but it'll cost to touch. And it's memorialized forever in the 2011 Harbor Yearbook.
I think, I really have thought about that question, because you told me you were going to ask it. And I think, we live in a world where we tend not to put ourselves in other people's shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we would all treat, whether we, golly, I don't want to talk about politics, but we're all people, we're all human beings, and we all deserve to be loved and respected. And so, whether it's the guy that's, holding a sign up that you see every day, asking for, just get over yourself. Humble yourself, and maybe pull over and go ask, like, can I hear your story? I don't have any money to give you, but can I hear your story? Making time for people, it literally will take you from a place of being in a funk, when you can just literally, I find myself sometimes stopping at nursing homes. That's really random. But on bad days, there's nothing really more that brings joy to a person but to be a blessing to somebody else, because you will end up being blessed. And so, I don't know, people need to get over themselves, slow down, put yourselves in somebody else's shoes. If somebody's treating you bad, you never know what's going on behind closed doors, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think that's, we take ourselves a little bit too seriously sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
So I have two more questions.
Okay.
One is super simple. What are 2 to 3 things that any human being can do on a daily basis that will make them feel better, that will improve mental health? Simple things.
Sleep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sleep.
There it is, Andrew. There it is. Sleep cycles, and the way that sleep cycles interact with our ability to be self-aware, to be grounded, all of those things is huge. It's a huge problem in shift work, and again, like first responders and lots of men, non-first responders, we just work all the time, working too much. So all of those little things about sleep, the way we eat before we go to bed, what we drink before we go to bed, and how we don't have screens in front of us when we try to go to sleep. All those things can be really helpful to progress. So that's one.
I can plug in real quick, because
Yeah,
we've done
plug
this
it.
before for the people listening. He'd had us do this exercise where you close your eyes. This is a simplification, but like you're going up a mountaintop, you're trying to leave things behind. You're trying to see what the universe or God says to you. And the thing that I got was just go to sleep.
Yeah.
I'm tired and
Yeah.
I'm working
Yeah.
from like sun up to sundown. So
We did a little exercise before we came on for the podcast. Yeah.
anyway, but I'd interrupt.
No, that's
Second.
good. That's one. I think two is like just there might just be so in that first category is just the basics. We know hierarchy of needs. I can't do harder work on myself. I can't do relationship work. I can't deal with love and value and feeling loved if I don't have the basics: sleep, eat, shelter, all those things. Whatever you can do to help yourself have what you need to stabilize. And then I think like risk being vulnerable to the people around you. Risk it. I think people aren't as bad as we think most of the time. So if we can risk it, people will care about us and care for us more than we think. So that's for all people. Self-awareness. Just be checking with yourself once a day. How am I right now?
Mhm.
Right? Just get to know yourself a little bit better. And lastly, probably moments of awe and wonder.
Yeah,
Right?
I like that.
Find something in the day that you can just stare at for a second and be like, huh,
Mhm.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Right? Look out at a tree.
Mhm.
Pick up a
Gift someone a rock. Kate gave me a rock one time. I still have it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's on my bedside
Yeah,
table.
that's it. So you know where this is coming from.
I watched a killer whale eat that great white shark. Did y'all see that
Yes,
video?
I did not see that.
I
It was
did,
nuts.
yes.
Like it looks like a bullet. It doesn't just, sneak up on it and pounce. It's like,
And it just
Oh.
it brings perspective, doesn't
yeah,
it?
it's amazing.
Yep. So there it is.
Yeah,
Maybe a couple things there.
I like that.
Yeah, I just feel like that moment we had just a few minutes ago, that was special to me. The moment of when I'm gone, I just want the people that I love to miss me,
Mhm.
right? I think that's it. Like you just like, what does that actually look like for you, right? I think if we ask that question, it makes us have to ask like, what's important to them, what do they need, but at the same time, it's like, don't wait around for connection. Don't wait around to be validated. Don't wait for people to love on you. Like, just go do it. Go be it. And you'll have it.
If we boil down my whole life philosophy, it really comes down to the golden rule: do unto others as you would have done to yourself.
Yeah, but if you had to give an actual...
Yeah. So like in that spirit, be skeptical of everything you're told. Always ask questions about it. And that'll get you a good place. So like, don't just believe what you're all like, ask for the other point of view, because there's always another side to the story, and then give that real weight. Don't just learn about it to dismiss it or to better attack it. Like actually process that belief. And then do the same with people that hold different beliefs. Like put yourself in somebody else's shoes, but like really put yourself in their shoes. Think about what their life is like right now, today. Live their life today. Walk it through in your head what it looks like. Really empathize with that other person and how they view the world. Because even if you think they're wrong about something or some specific belief, you'll understand them a lot better, and you can still love them even though you strongly disagree. And so like do that with everybody always, like as much as you can. Really, really, really think about what it's like to live the life of this other person that you talk to or see on the internet or whatever.
Yeah.
Live their life in your head.
Yeah. So few people will start that process and actually think, well, what if they're right about whatever thing? And that's been a big thing for me of like, maybe I'm wrong. And
I read a book called Being Wrong.
Yeah.
It was a good one.
Yeah, and I mean, I knew for years, like, you might be wrong about stuff, but it took a really long time for the stuff that you, like, your core values, for you to say, well, what if they're actually right about this? Maybe just not even the whole thing, but, like, this aspect of it, and, yeah, giving that some weight. And I just listened to a debate yesterday just because it popped up on YouTube on, like, is marriage worth it in the modern world? And it was interesting, but at the end, they had them steel man each other's arguments and present the best possible form, and both of them did like the exact opposite of that.
Territory down each other.
Yeah, and I thought, wow, this is like I'm just not interested in that kind of stuff or those kinds of people, I guess. It's not people that I listen to regularly anyway, but I thought, well, I'm definitely not going to listen to more of them, because if you don't even have the goodwill to give people the benefit of the doubt, be genuinely curious and interested, and can have, good faith, then like what are even...
Yeah, you're just fighting each other. Yep. Yeah, maybe that's another good practical takeaway is like steel man somebody's argument. Don't just build a straw man and then knock it down.
Yeah.
Really, really try to put forth the best version of a contrarian idea that you can possibly get.
Yeah.
And that'll, even if you still think you're right, that'll make you more right.
Yeah.
Because you'll have a better opponent to beat, essentially.
Yeah. So maybe to put hands and feet to your challenge of like trying to think of maybe some of the people you disagree with most, whether that's people who vote for Trump or people who vote for Biden or people who support abortion or people who are pro-life or whatever. Like
people who are in Islam, people who are atheists, people, who have really hokey beliefs about the way life should be lived. The ascetic types in India.
Like we have the internet. So just like think of something that you really disagree with and look up this person talking about this thing and actually listen to them and actually think about it and not just picking apart why each thing is wrong.
Yeah, that's like the homework, the takeaway homework. Think about a subject you strongly believe about and then specifically look up somebody who holds the opposite ideas and really listen to their arguments. Yep.
This could translate a lot of different ways, but I think I would maybe challenge people to be like extra curious about things that they wouldn't necessarily be, or about people that they wouldn't necessarily be curious about. I think curiosity leads to a lot of good things. I think it's at the heart of a lot of good growth.
Except for cats, right?
Well, no, cats have a special advisory against curiosity.
But it's great for humans.
Apologies. But for everyone except a feline, I highly recommend it. I think I would say just take unique opportunities to be curious with people and with yourself. Like we just had a conversation about like, well, certain art speaks to us and certain art like doesn't. But like sit down and figure out why. I think that's a great exercise in curiosity and like kind of naming to yourself like, oh, what does move me? What meaning am I drawn to? What is it to me that's important? And see how that like helps you get to know yourself better.
That is a good challenge. So to rephrase, if anyone's looking for something specific, think of the art that like hits you and then try to assess like, why is it that hits me the way that it does?
Since this is something that I'm trying to work on, I threw out the idea of if you have a significant other, tell them how much they mean to you and not just, take 20 or 30 minutes to like write down some specifics, not just say, hey, babe, I like you, you're really pretty, you're fun, you're nice, that kind of thing. But think of really specific things to tell them and just vocalize that appreciation to them, because you just get so busy in the day-to-day life, you don't stop to say, hey, I'm really glad that you do this and it means a lot to me and I see you and I'm 100% speaking to myself, but thought it'd be a good challenge for others as well.
Yeah, it's really important.
You have any other closing thoughts?
Well, I know we want to stay uplifting on here, so maybe you'll cut this out.
Okay.
But a challenge for the guys, I just want to see guys talk more positively about their wives in circles with other guys. I'm sure women do this too, but I'm not in those circles. But it's just like always the comments of like, oh, well, we had to do this. You know what it's like, man, right? You know what it's like. And I'm like, no, I don't know what it's like. My wife's my best friend. So like, for one, it's a challenge to me. Like, I want to be more bold in those situations and be like, no, man, I don't. Like, we have a really good thing going. Granted, we're only 2 years in and you're 20 or whatever. So you have the right to be upset if you want, but like, no, we're good. And a challenge for the other guys around me too is to be like, if you don't have anything positive to say, don't say it. And you might think of a lot more positive things to say about your wife if that's the rule. So guys, we can do better. We can do better.
That is a ridiculously good challenge. Because, yeah, you notice that in guys where it's like, why would you trash talk the person you care about most? And just doesn't make any sense.
And it's like they're not really that unhappy because you know these people and you know they have a pretty good marriage. It's just like the cool thing to do is like talk crap about your wife. And I just think we should not do that.
Yeah, and not to like pat myself on the back or anything, but Alexis was really frustrated on Saturday when she's talking about the emotion thing. And it'd be easy for me to write it off as like, oh, these crazy women and all their emotions and feelings. But everything she was saying, I was like, 100%, you were totally right about like, I am not as emotionally available as I should be. And am, instead of going and complaining to friends about, oh, she said this to me and she wants me to do that. Like, your spouse is there to help you become a better person, and if you listen to them, you might actually become a better person.
Yeah.
I don't know, take care of the women in your life. I mean, we hear a lot about how to decrease infant mortality and, take care of the babies. And I mean, that's great too. But really, if you really want to take care of the babies and the children, you always take care of the women.
Mm-hmm.
That, and I think just trusting yourself, like, especially as a mom. I mean, I first started having children. My oldest is 22. So, gosh, you see a lot of things come and go, and at the end of the day, then you have to be able to trust your own instincts and your own, what you feel like is going to be the best thing for your family and for your child. And, there's a lot of fads in women's health and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some good and, meaningful changes are made, but there's a lot of things that come and go, but just being able to trust your own instincts is really important. And I think as far as a practical thing goes, for myself in this season is trying to kind of take a dose of my own medicine, not just telling other people what to do, like how to manage their health or whatever, but making sure that I'm putting that practice in my life too. And I always do, like, my church does a morning prayer, and I've tried to do that in the morning and just having that, kind of spiritual touchstone every morning and, time to calm and breathe and, connect with God has been really important too.
Yeah. So spoil the women in your life.
Yes.
And take that time.
Connect with God.
Yeah. Well, we'll say for spoil your woman, how about you got to go you get her a massage or something, go get her a favorite drink. That's the practical application.
Let her sleep.
Yeah.
Man.
Let her sleep. Yeah. That's a big one.
Yeah. And let her have time by herself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just to be who she is without children.
Sometimes we'll go out of town for the weddings that we do the pictures and videos for, and I'll wake up. We'll have to do an overnight, and I'll wake up in the morning thinking, oh, let's go out and do something. But then I'll think, no, she just wants to sleep now that the kids aren't here.
Especially when the kids are little.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in a different phase in life now, but
yeah,
that. And then it's so funny because I remember I would just want some space away from the kids. And then when I would get it, like, I'd be great for a few hours and then I'd miss the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to, just that I want to be with them all the time, but I want to be alone too. So, yeah.
Oh man, if I had to leave everybody off with one thing, I would say, don't disrespect your parents. Literally though, I would probably say, be willing to learn and be self-accountable for your actions. If you run a business, be self-accountable for things that happen in that business, whether it was you or somebody else. Like, that's your business. It's like, make it your problem.
Yeah.
That, and then just, fall forward, starve your ego and feed your soul. I have it tattooed on my arm. I'd show you, but I don't want to take off my shirt. Yeah. But starve the ego and feed your soul, always be moving forward, everybody, That's like, I think that's a message that I would want to give out.
Yeah. Maybe to put some hands and feet to that challenge. Just the next time you get really mad at somebody, step back and think, okay, what did I do to
dissect the situation?
Contribute.
If you're in a relationship, and I'm only saying this because this is what I've been doing.
I'm talking to someone else,
we have a friend, if something happens, take a step back, analyze the situation, and, really like try to see where they're coming from. Try to see that, that you aren't always in the right all the time. A lot of people have a really hard time with that, especially the younger folk, my age and down.
And I tried to think, what are 3 movies that I'd recommend pretty universally to people that I feel like would make them a better human? And that could be mostly family friendly and just broaden your scope. And so the first one is called Harakiri, which is an older movie. I don't normally like older movies, but there's a story behind this one too. It's a Japanese movie, obviously from the title. And it's basically about a guy who's a samurai who sort of his tribe has been disbanded. And so he's trying to get approval, because that's how it worked in their day, to commit suicide, do the suicide ritual. And you have to get approval from like a higher up authority. And as the story goes, you realize that he's actually airing out to this council all the things that they've done that destroyed his tribe, and that he's not really there to commit suicide. He's there to show them what they've done and how it's affected the poor people and their society. And it's so epic. And I watched it probably like a week or 2 after our first kid was born, because I'd have to stay up late, and he'd only sleep if I had him strapped to me. And so I just watch movies and stand up and rock. And I got relieved for bedtime duty because my wife and I would switch. She'd come in at like 1:30, and then I'd go to sleep. And she came in, I saw like 30 minutes left of the movie, and then I went out and I still finished it, even though I was exhausted, because I just thought, this is so engaging, because it's just, the cinematography is beautiful, even for old film. It's very symmetrical, and all the Japanese architecture. And so that was one that I just felt all around, like story-wise, visually, it's just a great movie for people to see, and would be a good older movie for people to dip their toes in. And I'm definitely of the opinion that older doesn't mean better. There's a lot of film people that think that way, but in my mind, that's like saying that horse is a better method of transportation than car. Like, it can be fun and beautiful in its own way,
Right.
but a thing can be good regardless of where it came from.
Yeah. And what's the name of that one again?
Harakiri, Harakiri.
Okay.
And the next one would be A Hidden Life, is just about a guy, a conscientious objector in World War II who was Austrian and didn't want to fight with the Nazis. And it's just incredibly visually stunning. Another one of those where you could just shut the audio off and it would still be engaging, because you just think, how can someone make something so beautiful? I remember seeing it and almost feeling the sense of infuriation. Is that a word? Of like, are you telling me that every movie could look this good and people are just choosing not to?
Yeah.
So it's just one that's a good story. It's a little on the artsy side. There's not a whole lot of dialogue. But it's totally worth seeing, and for the sake of beauty. And then the last one is The Apartment, which is another kind of older movie, but about a guy who's climbing up the rungs of his business, and all of his higher ups are using his apartment as a rendezvous point for their affairs, and saying, well, don't you want that raise, that kind of thing. And so he lets them use it, and then they'll take too long, and he'll have to stay out in the park, and he'll get a cold and a fever because he can't go back to his apartment. And it's him kind of struggling with, trying to get these businessy people to approve of him because he really wants their approval, but then struggling with that. And it was just another one of those where I thought, man, this is just a great story, and takes so many of those plot points of, things that were said earlier in the movie, and then flips them in the end. And it's just very satisfying. So I feel like those 3 movies, that'd be my challenge, is I think if you watch those three movies, it'll make you a better human being.
Okay.
I'll tell you what affected me the most was when I was retiring from Walmart, and I put a post on LinkedIn about just reflective, about the years, and honestly how thankful I was for the time there, and the feedback that people gave me, and comments, and then just email feedback that I got at work. there were people that would recount something I had said to them that stuck with them, and I didn't even remember saying to them, right? So I think sharing with people, not just what you feel about them, but maybe an impact or something they said that resonated with them. I think just sharing with other people how you feel about them and what kind of impact you've made on their life is very uplifting, and it takes just a split second to do that for someone. I certainly appreciated the comments, but it really impressed upon me that I need to be doing that for other people too. And we're also interconnected. That it's a feel-good moment for someone that might really need that. So that's just one practical thing that I intend to keep doing.
I think I've mentioned it on at least one other podcast that we did, but I've talked about the lack of depth in my childhood and even now in some of those relationships, but I haven't done anything to change that. And so a challenge for myself would be just to work those things in and ask those questions. And I'm spending more time with my grandpa now that I live close by, and I just want to think up some good questions to ask him and just hear that wisdom and not just talk about the weather or whatever else. Like, I can't, it's the pot calling the kettle black. I can't be frustrated with other people for not having these deep conversations when I'm not bringing it to the table either. So I don't say these things to talk negatively about them. It's my own thing too. So I'm challenging myself to be more open and be more vulnerable when it's not just me and you talking in front of a camera, because it is easy now. Like, we've been friends for years and years and nobody's really here, it's just us having a chat. But even with family and friends that I'm most close to, it brings me like this certain level of like anxiousness to talk about these things. Because what if they don't agree, or what if they have these outlandish ideas and I don't respect them anymore? It's just like stuff that's not going to happen, but it's that fear that keeps us in our own minds. And I want to get out of my own mind.
Yeah. I think even though these spirits are non-alcoholic, I think they help to where we record all these things that I'm like, putting it on the internet, that's for another day.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just having a good time right now. Yeah. And then I'll remember all my drunk texts, later on.
Yeah. I know my mom, when I posted something on Facebook with the link to the first podcast, and she listened to it, and then she called me and was like, "Oh, it was amazing. Your grandpa's listening to it right now." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." I don't think he knows I have some of my tattoos, but I guess he found out. But no, we haven't even had that conversation. But it's just like you said, going back, what did I say?
Yeah.
What did that person hear that may have affected the way they view me? And just being like, who cares?
Yeah. It's life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my challenge would be that my family's been trying to do an every other week gathering this year, and each person is kind of getting a role at what they want to do for their night. And sometimes it's an all girls night, sometimes it's an all guys night, sometimes it's the whole family, sometimes just the adults without the kids, and sometimes with the kids. And that's been really fun to just have something consistent, because even, you would like for family to just get together organically. And we did plenty before, but just having something set has been helpful, because when you're just trying to make something happen, you got to work with everyone's schedules constantly. And now we just know Thursday nights, like, we're doing our thing.
Yeah.
And so that's been good for us.
I mean, definitely step outside of your comfort zone every once in a while. For me, it was going to dance practice that first time. Because, I've seen it in movies and I thought it was fun and great, but I'd never tried to dance. And you never know when that seed is going to be planted in something that just takes off for you.
Yeah.
So trying new things, keeping an open mind, being exploratory, because again, all of that will lead down a path that you would have never found.
Yeah. Presentation, there's a balance to it, like we've talked about, but I would say just have fun with it. I think most of us know in our conscience whether we're in a healthy place with it or whether we're overly concerned with what other people think about us. But I would say just try something new. Try something new with that presentation. Just get out there. If there's something that you've been wanting to do, or You've been holding back because of family or friends or whatever. If you need to go on a little vacation, if you need to take that outfit with you somewhere else, that's something my wife and I really enjoy when we go other places, just like wearing fun stuff that maybe we wouldn't wear to our family dinner. But do it. That's my challenge. Just do something different, try it out, and be silly and be fun and be confident with it.
Yeah, I think I'd have a less universal challenge and maybe speak to the guys who might be in a similar position that I was in, of just not caring at all about your appearance. If you are one of those guys, I just challenge you to like get some new clothes. Like if you just wear random t-shirts and like get yourself something that looks a little nice. It doesn't have to be expensive, but just as like that you could wear to in various situations, and it'd be casual enough but like presentable. It can do a lot to just think a little bit about what you're wearing out into the public world.
If they are able to hurt themselves, they can hurt anyone. So if you don't want to hurt yourself, you have no right to hurt any others also. So don't hurt anyone in any possible way.
And what might be a practical way that people can challenge themselves to even try to not hurt someone in a very small way? Can you think of anything?
I mean, take a moment. Just don't react immediately. Just take a little bit time and evaluate yourself, before you say anything to anyone and, hurt anyone. Try to calm down yourself and then take a moment and then,
bite your tongue for a minute. And,
yes.
I just encourage people to, it doesn't have to be to their dad, just to like someone they care about, write them a little letter of appreciation. And that's, I think, a good challenge. It's like tangible. And so do with that what you will. I just thought, what are a few good rules about all this that I try to live by? And it's a lot of the stuff that we talked about, but I'll just kind of cover them real quick. One is that the world is a big place and there's a near infinite amount of things you don't know, so have some humility, the sort of Dunning-Kruger thing. 2, give people you disagree with the benefit of the doubt and try to understand where they're coming from, and don't stoop so quickly to the level of character attacks, and to keep playful and friendly for the most part, because there's no reason not to be. And 3, with people you disagree with, focus more on what they have right and what you might have wrong than what you think you have right and what they might have wrong, because it's an opportunity to learn and become better. And 4, drift towards the long form formats of audiobooks and books and podcasts, long form podcasts.
You can read books.
Yeah, books are allowed. Not new sound bites. And with that, like, trying to do your best to find somewhat reliable sources of information, whichever, that's up to debate for everybody. But I think at this point in history, surely we can all agree that like Twitter and CNN and Fox, like it doesn't matter if you're liberal or conservative, like those news networks are really, inflammatory, and that it's better to try to find even experts, like rather than listening to what they have to say about COVID, actually reading some doctor's papers or something, or, things like that, and just find reputable experts, because there's only so much you can know. So like try to trust the experts, which is another really loaded phrase, because it's not like experts are always right, but they're definitely probably more right than you, like 99% of a chance that someone who's devoted their life to something has a better understanding of it than you do. So those are just a few last little thoughts I had. Did you all have any, even if they're just off the top of your head, just like recap or bullet points of rules that help you in day-to-day life?
Let's like lead with love and kindness, like I'm trying to like put on love every morning. Mm-hmm. It's weird and cliche, odd as that sounds.
No,
but
not at all.
There's a scarcity and a need for that. I'm always saying that.
Well, hopefully we gave some inspiration of
good questions to ask people, because I think it's one of the keys to a meaningful life is both asking yourself good questions and like in your head day to day, but then asking people and trying to ask them the sort of questions that you wish that people would ask you sometimes, but never do.
You know, we had something that comes to my mind right off the bat was just be open to saying yes. I know I was like, oh, I gotta self-care and all that. Saying no, I mean, I get that. Yeah. But you just don't know all the time what your yes can bring. So an example is during the freezing weather that we just had in January, I was thinking about Arch and Axe and what we could maybe renovate it into something else. And I was talking to my husband about it, being maybe some kind of shelter or, you know, home for low income or something like that. And he was like, no, Heather, that's not what you want to do. And so I was like, okay. And I was like, well, it was just an idea. And the next day I went to our Main Street meeting, which is held in our lobby. And the Main Street director at the end said, I'm really concerned with how many homeless people are in our downtown and it's going to be freezing. And she's like, does anybody know where they could go? Like in the city, has anybody opened anything? And no one could think of anything. And so I just got this nagging feeling, I think it was God, and was like, just open Arch and Axe. Like, just open Arch and Axe. Like, you have heat. No one's in there. You can hide the axes. And so after all that, like 3 times and me mulling over, like, oh, this is dumb. They'll find a place to go, blah, blah, blah. I said, I can open Arch and Axe. And just by saying yes to that, our community of Siloam, I've never seen a community come together like it did. And I'm not like even exaggerating. I put one post up on Facebook and it just exploded. And people came. We had so many sleeping bags and the food that they brought and sign up to volunteer. It was just, it blew my mind. And I just think, what if I hadn't just opened my mouth to say yes? I mean, I didn't know how it was going to look. I honestly thought I was going to unlock a door and they were going to come in and out. But just, being willing to do something that maybe, you know, God wants you to do or is speaking to you, to just do it. Just because you don't know what the outcome's going to be. And I mean, it just, it changed, I think, our community. So our community now is talking about the homelessness here, that I think we kind of blank over, to not see. So